What's up, guys, and welcome back to Ty Sanctuary. I'm Tyler Sr., father of that lovely boy Ty, who started it all. Here we go. We're talking about Savannah Monitors. Man, this might be a long video, as I've got a lot of misconception stuff that I'm trying to deal with and educate about. Let's just start off with, it is a cheap reptile to purchase. Well, let me tell you why. Because the care is going to be astronomical. They are selling you that reptile for a low price because they know you're going to keep coming back to take care of your Savannah Monitor. So with that being said, guys, this is not a small reptile. This is not an easy care reptile. It is going to get huge. Yes, they may look cute when they're little tiny babies, but they are going to need a lot of care. And they've got a lot of specific stuff. Like some monitors, when they get to a certain size, yes, they eat rabbits and stuff and whatnot, but your Savannah Monitor is not going to eat mammals. They just don't do it in the wild. Has anybody seen a Savannah Monitor eat a mouse or a rabbit if it has any other choice of stuff? Granted, they live in the Savannah desert. Let me just say, desert does not mean a barren wasteland like the Wild Wild West. There is tons of life where they live. Grass, trees don't get too big because obviously there isn't water all season round. There's plants, there's moisture content in the soil year round, like an inch under. That means it gets enough water to keep all of the soil that it's going to be digging around in nice and moist and wet. Guys, these are insectivores. Yes, a lot of people want to say they're omnivores, but if you're that hungry and you're in the dry season, possibly are you going to eat something other than an insect? Possibly. Do they eat anything but insects? Yes, they actually do specialize in eating snails. They love snails. And as we know, snails live, it doesn't really matter how dry it is outside, they're going to find something to snack on, like a plant that has moisture in it, so your snails will be there year round. So if they cannot get to that big, juicy, fatty insect, they are going to eat those snails. Snails, incredibly easy to keep, and do they breed fast. So you might as well just set up a tank of snails. You know, you might as well set it up or find a local store that's got snails and purchase them there. That would probably be your cheapest route to go. We'll start with the first thing that you need to think of. Savannahs love to dig. Savannahs keep moisture in their body, not by swimming around, not by eating a bunch of plants, because they don't generally eat plants per se in any way, shape, or form. The plants that they get is mostly from the insects that they devour. The way they keep their moisture in their body is by burrowing, by making a burrow. In there, the humidity is generally always above 60 to 70 to 80%, wherever they are. And let me just get to this burrowing thing. The first thing that Savannah Monitors ever do before they even take a breath of fresh air, before they even think about eating food, they are crawling to the surface. You think mom and dad dug a little hole for them to climb out of? I don't think so. So, to keep that going, to make them feel safe in the environment that they're at, you need to have dig space. Man, do I see a bunch of people keeping them on a flat surface. Oh, well, you know, it's not really practical for me to keep this huge reptile and have a burrow space in the area that I'm living in. Well, maybe you shouldn't have one, because this is what they do. They need a burrow space to feel safe. They need a burrow space to cool down. They need a burrow space to keep the moisture content in their body. You look at any of them in the wild, man, do they look gorgeous. Do they look dry and rotten and disgusting? No, because it doesn't even matter if it's in the dry season. They're using that burrow to keep the moisture in their body so it's not being expelled in any way because they're overheating and not in a moist environment. So, think of your largest Savannah monitor. Huge. That tunnel is going to have to be a minimum of the same length as your monitor. You need enough, let's just say you've got a 4-foot Savannah monitor. The tunnel, not including the burrow, the tunnel needs to be at least 4 feet long, minimum. And most of the time they dig at an angle down. They don't dig straight down, they don't dig straight flat. They want to dig down until it's cool enough and moist enough for their bodies to be able to maintain themselves. So if you think about that, this is about 4 feet right here. This is about 4 feet. So you're thinking you need at least this amount of space as dig space, including your basking enclosure, heat, feeding, height spaces. You need that. This is something that you're going to need. They are not living on flat ground 24/7. Lots of times they are dug in. I just want to keep saying that, as you need to expect that. My baby Savannah monitor, I tried to start off in, your big 40, 50 gallon tank. Well, when they're really little babies, they are more looking for insects and bugs. And as you know, I don't have a termite mound sitting inside of my enclosure. I need to feed her. Well, going in to feed her when I first had her, she was scared. She didn't want to come out. She didn't want to search for food. Because as babies, normally the mother is going to lay the eggs next to a source of food. So when they wake up from their growth cycle and they dig their way out, generally they're going to look and they're going to see their insects all over the place right away. So I kept her in a smaller enclosure. Once she learned the noise of me opening the door, putting the dish in there, once she knew every single morning the lights came on, waited for it to warm up a little bit, waited for her to peek her head out, then I turn around and I start making bug noises, and then she's there and she's ready. At that point, I moved her to a larger enclosure. Currently, she's in a 4 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot enclosure with dig space. Plenty of dig space for her. This is not going to be substantial for her in less than 6 months. In 6 months, I will more than likely put her into a permanent sized enclosure. Granted, I probably won't have 8 feet of dirt in there. I'll probably have 4 feet of dirt in there because she's not needing that much space as a burrow. But as she gets older, I will add more and more dirt. With that being said, that is a lot of freaking dirt. And if you cannot provide this for your Savannah monitor, I would not keep one. I would not keep one. Yes, do people let them live long lives without having any type of burrow space? But let me just again point it out. The first thing they do in their lives is dig. That's the first thing they do. When they want to be safe, they dig. They're not looking to find a rock to hide under, because that's got other critters. Your predator can just reach right into underneath a rock. You get a burrow, most predators are not going to want to go in that burrow. You know why? Because burrows contain things that are going to attack them with no escape space. They're going head first into that burrow. They're not going to, they're not going to be able to turn around. That's why predators tend to not enter burrows. That's not saying lots of predators don't, but I'm just saying it gives them safety. So full space, you need a minimum of 4 feet of distance for that crawling, for them to create a hole into where their burrow is going to be. Obviously, the burrow needs to contain your Savannah monitor. I like using the 4 feet. It's a good average for Savannah monitors. So that burrow is going to be 4 foot around. It may not be a perfect 4 foot. It's probably going to be more of an oval shape and maybe about 1.5 feet tall. So you think about that, the bottom of your dig space needs to be at least 4 foot around. You have to add another 1.5 feet as the burrow. Then you need to have another 4 feet of space, 4 foot plus, for them to dig all the way down to where they feel safe to make their burrow. That is really hard to keep moisture content in there. If you don't keep moisture content in there, it's more than likely going to collapse. But do I have an idea for you? PVC pipe. You stick it into the ground. You have holes and relief holes drilled into your PVC pipe. Lots of people like to pour gravel into the PVC pipe, so when you pour the water in, it kind of shoots the water out of all the holes as it goes down. But as I've learned with my Tegu, I shove that PVC pipe in there, I pour water into it until the PVC pipe is full, and I let it disperse itself. So, with all that being said, if you cannot provide a safe dig space, I suggest staying away from Savannah Monitors. Getting on to heat sources. 4 feet heat sources. There are so many times that I see a single bulb. Oh, look, my basking space is 120 degrees, 130, 110, so on and so forth. It's perfect. Well, all you've done is heated up this much of your reptile. And if you're not heating directly to where they pump and flow that blood around, which is not on their back, you are not going to have sufficient heat for your reptile to do anything, any type of growing, digesting, anything. Will they continue to live? Yes, every single body tend to have enough proteins. As long as you're eating a little bit here and there, you will live for a certain amount of time. Are you going to have one that lives 40 years? No, you will not. Will you have one that lives 20 years without a sufficient heat source? More than likely not. This is very, very key to basic reptile care, is a heat and light source. Guys, let's take this light source misconception out of here. You know, like I said in my snake enclosure, yes, snakes are hidden most of the time. Yes, can sunlight kill snakes? Certain breeds, yes, because the sunlight is too much for them. It can burn them, it can do nasty stuff to them, but everything that grows needs light, needs water, and needs to consume something. You want to take out the misconception of caves? There is minimal light source, even getting into caves. It doesn't matter how deep that cave is. If I can see, if anything with eyeballs can still see, there is still a minimal amount of light source. Getting into those caves, everything that survives needs light. So like my entrance door here, I took out non-filtering glass and I put it in there, so when my reptiles want to bask, they follow the light across the floor during the day. You need as many types of natural sunlight as possible. It doesn't matter what type of bulb it is, so much of this percentage stuff and so on and so forth. If you look up natural habitats, if you look up the amount of UVB that makes it through the atmosphere to this habitat, that's what you need. There's different types of UVA and B, blah, 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 blah. Okay. On to the reason why I said that. Sunlight. You need to mimic sunlight as much as possible. It doesn't matter if this reptile is going to hide 7 months out of the year. It doesn't matter if it's going to, like some snakes can brumate up to a year. Well, it's going to come out and want that light. It is going to need it in some way, shape, or form. Just like your monitor. Your monitor is 4 feet long. In the natural habitats, they don't have a sun coming through a tube in a single space where they live. The sun touches everything. So most light bulbs, they come out and maybe hit a 12-foot or 12-inch radius, or 8 inches or 6 inches even. I'd average out to 8 inches. So if you think about it, you've got a 4-foot reptile. If it covers only 12 inches, that means you need 1, 2, 3, 4 heat bulbs. You need 4 to cover that entire reptile. You need 4. And that means that they have to lay in one position all the time to bask. They're going to have to lay in one spot every single time. Are you able to do that? Yes. Do I suggest 1 crazy hot bulb? No. Do I suggest 2? No. Do I suggest 3? No. Do I suggest 4? Yes, I do. You want those bulbs, because if you do, let's just say you do 1, you have it like this close to the basking space. You do 2, maybe you've got it this close to the basking space. You're going to burn the living crap out of your Savannah Monitor. You do 4, it's going to cover its entire body. Now you've got the basking space away from your reptile, because like most reptiles, they like to howl at the sun. They want to lick that. It's like, oh, that feels so good. What does it taste like? They're going to attack that bulb. You need it away from them. You get it too close, it doesn't matter if the basking space even says 70 degrees. It gets too close, you're going to burn the living crap out of your reptiles. So for every foot of reptile you have, I suggest 1 bulb. Every single foot of reptile, you have 1 bulb. That doesn't include all the extra sunlights and vitamins coming from the sun to be able to digest. That doesn't include the heat during the nighttime, which you should look up the natural habitat, find out the average heat cycle during the nighttime, and that should be your minimum heat during the nighttime. So enough about lights, enough about the dirt. That's just, those are 2 key points that I see people miss out a lot. 2 key factors in any type of reptile is the way they live and a heat source. Okay, to move on, feeding. We are going to have to feed these guys insects. Yes, a lot of people claim them as insectivores and omnivores and carnivores and so on and so forth. There's so many different answers. But as a guy has shown, watching them in the natural habitat, as research studies have shown, they primarily eat insects and snails. Insects and snails. So snails, great, easy thing to grow. Let's just get that passed. Snails, insects. Think about a full-grown belly. Do you realize that's like 30 to 40 dubia roaches? 30 to 40 dubia roaches, and they're eating that every single day. Do we eat multiple meals a day? I don't suggest eating 3 meals a day as a human being. Anyways, we're not here to talk about humans. We're here to talk about reptiles. They're going to fill their belly up. And possibly by, midday, they're going to want to, put a little bit more in there. They may not want to fill their belly the second time because they're still digesting their food. But think about how big that belly is. You are going to spend a fortune feeding these critters. Do people feed chicken? Yes, that is a snack. Just like some other reptiles, you go to feed a piece of fruit, this is what that chicken is. It is super fatty. Super fatty. Fat will kill your reptiles. When reptiles get too fat, it kills your reptiles. A lot of things that kills reptiles or destroys their long lifespan is how much humans love and care for the reptile. There is a max limit. Guys, they are reptiles. They are extremely hardy. You overfeed them, you don't give them exercise, you give them too much of this and that to be lazy, they're going to get chunky and they will not live those 40 years that people are claiming they do. You know why? Because fat storage doesn't take a lot to store the fat, but damn, does it take a lot to get rid of that fat. Well, it takes a lot because they are reptiles. The reason why they're storing that is because during all the dry season, when there's nothing around, they are going to essentially starve through those dry seasons if all the insects are gone. If all the food sources are gone, the only thing that they can do is wait for the next wet season. If there is never a dry or a wet season, guess what? They are never going to eat that. Their bodies are never going to eat that fat store, ever. It's just going to keep storing it up and storing it up and storing it up. You're going to have a bad time. Expensive. Insects. Expensive. I suggest growing your snails. I suggest getting a colony of any sort or trying to work out a deal with any of your bug sourcing companies. Try to work out a deal. Hey, I'm going to be buying this much every single week. Hey, I'm going to be buying, 1,000 full-grown dubia roaches every single week. Is there something that we could work out? I will pay for it every week. I'll pay for it in advance. Guys, you're going to be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to feed this reptile. And if you want to cheap out on chicken, beef, and all this other stuff that they don't ever eat in the wild, you are going to take its lifespan and it's going to plummet. Especially because the people who are cheaping out on these chickens and this other stuff, guess what? They've only got a single bulb heat source trying to heat up these reptiles. Does it work? Yes. Are people not going to say much about it? Yes, because reptiles are still new to people learning. No matter how many people in biology are trying to learn about reptiles, it just seems not to be a priority. You know why? Because they've been around here so long, they are so hardy, they are able to survive, in just about any condition. Any condition. You find them anywhere around the world, there is a reptile. Do you find a chicken everywhere around in the wild? No, you do not. Do you find a beef cow laying around all over in the wild? No. You know why? Because they can only live in certain areas. They can only do that. Reptiles essentially can live anywhere. Essentially can live anywhere. So guys, please look up the natural habitat, about what grows there, types of plants, the types of soil, the types of bugs, the types of predators and whatnot that live there, and you will prolong the life of all your reptiles. As this is a Savannah Monitor video, guys, it is cheap for a reason, because the care is going to cost you an astronomical amount of money. Do you own a spaceship? Well, if you don't own a spaceship yet, any of these large reptiles are going to cost too much to you. It is going to be unbelievable. So just be prepared for that. So, 4 feet. They need the dig space, specifically Savannah Monitors, because that is how they keep the moisture in their body. That's how they feel safe. That's just what they naturally do. So they are digging reptiles. Feeding them. They are not feeding on mammals naturally all the time. Another thing, mammals tend not to have a lot of sources of plants ingested into them like bugs would, that would give them the nutrients and the water content that they need. Light source. Mimic natural sunlight as much as possible. It doesn't matter how many people tell you, oh, mine has lived this long without this style bulb and so on and so forth. Just know that that reptile has been trying internally to survive as long as possible. Let's say it lives 20 years without natural sunlight, without a single heat bulb, because you're giving it vitamin additive and so on and so forth. Will it work? Yes. Do you wake up every single morning and only eat vitamins? No, you don't. So guys, please do your research on these large reptiles. Please take the stuff that is on YouTube right now with a grain of salt, because Savannah Monitors, watching some of those care videos are from years ago. World has changed. And these are just people that are just taking them in and throwing them in tubs and saying, well, the space is big enough, it should be happy. It is not. You need to mimic their natural life as much as possible. As always, guys, please do your research. Take what I say with a grain of salt. If you'd like to learn more, if you'd like to find out where I found this information at, I'm more than willing to tell you. If there's things that I can learn, please let me know. I love to learn. I want to know more. I want to teach more. And I'd love to give all of my reptiles that come in and out of this place the care they need, and to be able to source that information to new handlers so they can give these guys the best care that they can. As always, I'll catch you on the next one.